Hello everyone, in this video we'll be looking at how to make a Django application with React, and this application which we will be making will use Django as the backend, React as the front end, and Django REST framework for APIs. Django REST framework for APIs. Now, before moving forward, we'll see what project structure or what folder structure we should be making. So the app will be a to-do app, which will basically let you basically add or delete tasks. Okay, so the main folder, root folder's name would be to do. Now inside this we will be having our configuration files, which should be for Django, which means our main Django project. So it should be named as to do. So to do, and this would be having our settings.py file and all the configurations files. Okay, all the settings.py and configuration file. Now all the API related things would be in a folder known as backend. Okay, API related things would be in a folder known as backend, and React application, this one, would be in a folder known as frontend. Okay, so it will be in front end and this will be in back end. Okay, so this would be the folder structure which we will be following. So backend will have all the views, models, templates, everything. Front end will be having your React, src and public, all these files. Okay, so before any so I hope this part is clear. So without any further ado, we'll get started. We'll go to our code. So now here we'll create our Django project. So Django admin start project to do app. We'll call it to do app, and it'll take a minute. So you can see here the to do app is created. Now it has manage.py and to do app. So this is your configurations for your backend. Okay. Now the next thing we'll be doing is going inside this to do app, and we'll be creating our backend first. So Django admin start app. This backend would be an app which will have all the APIs. So backend, Django admin start app backend. So you can see backend is created. Now we'll try to run this. So Python manage.py, there's a space in between. Python manage.py run server. So run server says I need to migrate, but it's fine if we don't migrate right now. So what we'll do, our backend seems to be ready. We need to install our app. So this backend app needs to be installed in settings.py. So if you can see here in your installed app, you just have to write settings, backend. Here in your installed app, you need to write backend. So this will install your app. Now we'll do one thing. We'll just create one front end folder. Okay, so we'll create a front end folder. Instead of having a big folder, what we'll do, we'll make it as a React app only. Okay, so we'll just clear it out. We'll see, okay, we are in the current directory. Now here we need to do npx create React app, and the name would be front end. You know what it will do? It will create a front end folder, and in that front end folder it will have the entire React application, and I'll use npm. Okay, now this will take a minute or two, and it will create your new React project. So meanwhile it is getting created, we'll add our backend. So in our backend, we'll create a model. So in our models.py, we need to create a model. So as it is a to-do app, so we'll create a class which will have task. Okay, it will have task, and what this task will do, it will have two things. One would be a title, and one would be is it completed or not. So from models.model, I'll create this class. I'll have title as our models dot char field. Okay, the max length would be around 200, not more than that. So after this we'll have a completed. Completed would be either it's a boolean, so models dot boolean field, and by default we'll keep it as false. Default is equal to false. Where is it? Yeah, default is equal to false, and it can be blank, so I'll keep blank is equal to true. It can be null as well. Null is equal to true. Okay, so this way I've created my task model. Now I need to show, whenever I have the admin access, I need to show the title. So I'll return def string. I'll return the string as self. I'll return the title. So return self dot title. So as we discussed earlier, so by default this is an ORM, so this returns the ID. So we don't want to return the ID or the object, I want to return the title. Okay, so just to make it differentiable. Okay, now my model has been created. Now I'll run the migrations. So I see that our front end app is also created, okay, which is great. So if I can see here, I have backend, front end, to do app, and manage.py. So which means to do, backend, front end. This folder structure has been achieved. Okay, now one thing which we need to make sure is this entire thing goes inside Git. Okay, this entire thing goes inside Git, which means this should be a Git repository. But when we create a front-end app using React, this becomes a Git repository. So we need to go to our front-end app, and if you can see Git status, this front-end app would be a Git repository. So what we'll do, we'll remove the .git folder. Okay, we have removed the .git folder. Now it is not a Git repository. You can see now it is not a Git repository. Okay, now that's fine. Okay, our front end is also created, our back end is also almost done. Now we can see we have to make migrations. So python 3 manage.py make migrations. Make migrations, I'll run all the migrations. You can see create model task, it's for this. Now I'll migrate these changes. Manage.py migrate these changes. So all the changes have been migrated. So if we go and we see in our browser for localhost, we need to run the server. I need to run the server, yeah. So there should not be any errors because all the migrations have also been done. You can see it's all clean. So if we localhost run server, so it says that Django installed works successfully. What if we have to run the React project here on port 8000? Because you know what happens in normal, this backend would be running on port 8000, your front end would be running on port 3000. How do we integrate these two? Let's see that. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll cut this, we'll go to our front end. Okay, we'll go to our front end and we'll write npm start. So npm start means it'll run the React project. So our React project is nothing currently, it's a simple page. So if you can see, so whenever we write npm start, it just starts the development server. Okay, I'll give it the access. You can see what happens. It's just a blank screen. It'll take some time. So it's starting the development server. It'll load that icon of React which is preloaded. You can see the code here. If you go to src app.js, it just creates an app logo. Not that great. You can see this part. Now this is running on localhost 3000. We want to run this on localhost 8000. So what we should be doing? We'll cut this. We'll cut this first. Now we'll create a dist. So what is a dist? Dist is basically a merged form of all this front end code. So to create a dist, we need to write npm run build. So build will create a build folder. Okay, build will create a build folder inside this front end folder. So what we can do, we can say, we can tell Django that all your static files you can collect from this folder. You're understanding my point. So if you can go to settings.py, and if you can see, there is a static, there's a static URL. Okay, there's a static URL, and there is something known as static files dir. So static files dir. So this static files dir is basically the directory of your static files. So we'll say os.path.join, which means we will join our static root or static files directory to this part, to our build folder. You can see build folder. Inside build folder we have static, CSS, JS, media, everything we have here. So this path we'll go give to Django. So I'll import OS because I need to give an OS path. So I'll go here, and in static files dir I'll write os.path.join os.path.join. Now I have to find the directory where we have all our build files. So build files are kept, just give me a minute, I'll just copy the directory. So if you can see, copy path, I need to join this thing. So os.path.join, I need to join our base dir. Base dir is the current path, and to this I'll be joining my front end dir. Not so much, only front end part, only front end and build. Okay, so this is not needed, only front end and build, and that's all. Now my static files dir is set. Now still it is not done. What I have to do, I have to say whenever this 8000 part occurs, I need to load this page. This is an HTML page. Okay, so I need to add a template, an HTML template. So I'll go here, if you can see, I'll go to templates, and in the dirs I'll pass this dir. Which is the dir? The front end build part. Okay, so dirs os.path.join base dir, and here front end slash build. Okay, now templates will also have the front end build templates, which means our templates will also have front end templates. So before anything, I'll just try to run this project, run the server. Okay, it should not give any errors. Okay, it runs fine. So if I see this, currently I won't get anything because I have not set the template. I have not set the template. So if I go here in my to do apps urls.py, here I'll have to add a path. If I have a blank path, which means if I have nothing here, so what will be happening? A template will be loading. So I'll be using a template view. Okay, I'll be using a template view. So this template view I need to import. So from Django.generics. So this is a generic import template view. So template view has been imported. Now template view as a view, which template I'll be using? Template name is equal to, I'll be using this template. Which one? If you can go inside build, there is index.html. So if I open this index.html, you can see this page I want to load here. Okay, so I'll write index.html. Okay, I can see no errors, no model name, Django.generics. Okay, sorry, it's a view, Django.views.generic. Okay, So from views we import generic. So no errors. So if I load here, you can see a React app is loaded. Okay, a React app is loaded. Although all the static files are not loaded yet. So for that I'll have to run something. So it's showing get favicon some kind of, so it's not able to find the exact files, but you can see what's happening. React app you can see, so which means the app is getting loaded. Okay, now some minor changes which I think we would need to do for our app to load. Front end build, so let's collect the static, collect static, yes. Okay, setting a static root to a file system. Okay, so let's see what happens. So still it's not loading. We'll see what kind of errors we are getting. Okay, it could not find all these things. No problem. We can close this part. We can go back, and I think everything looks fine. We'll need to run some more tests. I think the template part is an issue. So I think for os.path.join base dir templates, there's something else which needs to be done. So Django templates. Okay, it looks fine for me. Oh, very small issue, very small issue. You can see the static files dir I've given front end and build, but if you can see in here there is front end, build and static as well. So this static part is remaining. So static. So I can see if I run static, so no changes, and if I see this, okay, still nothing happened. Okay, now if I run this, it's working. Okay, the front end part we can cover in another video. For the back end part, we'll start with creating our REST APIs. So for REST APIs, we'll be using our REST framework. So REST framework which we'll be using is Django REST framework. So in Django REST framework, all we have to do is pip install Django REST framework. So pip, okay, pip install Django REST uh, framework. Django REST framework. Okay, it's saying already satisfied, no problem. Which means all I need to do is in the settings.py, I need to install it. Settings.py, I'll be installing it. So this is how you install an application, Django REST framework. Okay, REST framework is now installed. Now we'll start creating our views. So to create our views, we need to go inside our backend first. So inside our backend, we have a views file. So here we'll just create a simple view which says if the status is up or not. Status, which takes in a request, and it returns a response. Okay, it returns a response which saying status is up. Okay, this should be in strings. Status is up. This response is not imported, so from REST framework dot response import response. So I'll import response, and this I have to make it an API view. So from REST framework dot decorators import API view. I'll import API view. So from REST framework, I'll import API view. So API view is a decorator, so at the rate API view, and this will be a get API. So get API. So if I want to use this API, I need to create a urls.py. If you can see here, I'll create a urls.py. Okay. So from Django, so we need to create a urls.py for this particular thing. So you are creating urls.py from scratch is not that difficult. If you can see this, from you just have to import few things. So from django.urls, you have to import a path, and from dot, we have to import all of our views. Okay, so all of our views should be imported. So URL pattern should be created, URL patterns. Now URL pattern will have a path, and if the path is an empty path, I'll be showing views.status, which means whenever I'll get an empty part, it will show a status, or maybe a status API would do. Okay, a status. Now this URL should be imported in our main configuration. So here I'll be using something known as include. Okay, so whenever the API gets an endpoint of API, I'll include all the backend URLs. All the backend URLs I'll import. Okay, so you can see no errors. So if I localhost 8000/API, okay, if I see this, so nothing, and if I have status, so status says up, so it's a Django REST framework status. Now let's say if we get something as blank, just API will give some kind of details, which means API details will be given. So whenever I'll get a status as blank, or maybe the API as blank, I'll give API details. Okay, and these API details will be API endpoints. Okay, endpoints. So in this tutorial, we'll be making a few things. We'll be making CRUD operations for our task. So CRUD create. So create API will be known as /task create. Then we'll be having our read API. Read means just to get. So task, and we can get it by an ID. So int pk, we can get it by pk. Okay, now update. Now this update would be done by task update, and again update should be done by an pk or id. Okay, and similarly we'll have one delete. Okay, task delete. Delete again should be done by using id. We can have all the list as well. All tasks can be found by the API tasks. Okay, that's all. And now let's try to create the tasks API. But let's check if this part works. So all you have to do is you have to create a blank entry. Okay, so this I'll be just copying here, and I'll be having a blank, and this would be your views. So whenever a blank is got, which means if I get only this part, only this, just API, nothing after that, I'll be calling API details. So let's see if it works. We'll check the views.py. Sorry, views.py. It says status up. We want to share the API endpoints. Okay, so yeah, it should be working. So if I run this, okay, some kind of error. Let's see what error we are getting. So okay, I think I forgot one comma. No problem. Okay, this should be running. So it's showing status. I don't want status, I want this part. So you can see this is the list of all API. So let's first start with showing all the tasks, or let's first create a task. Okay, task.create. So to create a task, we'll be using post API. So I'll just copy this part to save time. We'll be using post API. So this would be post uh, task create. We'll be creating a task. And how would we create? We would take a title from the user. So request dot data, we'll be using a title. We'll be taking a title from the user. Okay, now we'll be creating a task. How we'll be creating? We'll be using a model. Okay, so we would not be using a serializer. From dot models import task. We will not be using a serializer, we'll be using a model directly. So task dot objects dot create. So we'll be creating a task with title is equal to title. Okay, now this task dot save will basically save your task. Okay, now you can directly say message task added successfully. Okay, task added successfully. This should be a JSON, so I'll just make it as a dictionary. And this task create API, the endpoint is task create, so we'll add it here. Okay, task create, we'll add it here. I'll just copy this task create, and this should be here. So this mapping needs to be done. Okay, so now it will check no errors. Now to do this thing, we'll be using Postman. So I'll be using Postman. You can see the Postman part. I've already created this for you. So I'll task create. Okay, so localhost task create. So in the body, we'll have a task of creating front end. We'll run this request. So you say task added successfully. Okay, so task added successfully, but we can't see the task. So we need to make this tasks API. Okay, so we'll make this task API. Okay, we'll create a URL for this. Okay, it will be known as task or get all tasks. Okay, get all task. Now this get all task I'll be creating here. Okay, this get all task I'll be creating here. So def get all task. It will take a request and it will send a response having all the tasks. So task is equal to task dot objects, sorry, objects dot all. It will take all the tasks and it will just return all the tasks. Okay, so for task in tasks, so this will iterate through all the tasks and it will create a dictionary of results. Result is equal to, we'll create a dictionary, so that we are not using serializers. So but this is how you create a JSON. Task.pk, you will have a pk, then you will have title. Okay, task.title, then after this you will have either it is completed or not, completed, task.completed. Okay, so this would be one task. Now I have to add many tasks, so I'll have one more thing known as task list. Now this task list I'll create here. Task list is equal to, I'll create an empty list. Task list dot append, result. So I've appended the result, and this result I'll have to response. So return response, and inside this response I'll be returning task list. Okay, so task list has been returned, get all tasks. This should be an API view. So I'll just copy this and I'll use it as an API view. So you can see what we have done till now. Till now we have created a simple status up, a details API, get all task API, and create API. So we'll see get all task API, how does it work. So the endpoint is tasks. So if I write API, I'll just duplicate it. If I write API slash tasks and I press enter, I'll get all the tasks. See, create front end. This is the task which we added from here. Okay, if I add another one, create git. Okay, so you can see task added successfully, and it should be reflecting here as well. You can see pk2 is reflecting here. Okay, similarly, we'll be creating two more APIs which are just like create. We'll be using update and delete. Okay, update and delete. So update and delete. Now these update and delete would be using a primary key. So intpk would be there in the URL. So you can see here also you'll be using these things. So instead of create, you'll be using update and delete. Okay, so update delete is done. So I'll be creating the APIs for the same. So these things which I'm doing is without serializers, you can see. So it's very easy without serializers. So what I need to do, input API, I just need to pass the PK and the new data, which means whatever data I need to update. So I need to update title and completed as well. Completed as well I need to update. So here completed is done. Okay, now I need to find the task and then update it. So here I'll be using get, and whatever PK I have passed in the URL, that will be captured here. Okay, now whatever task I'll get from that PK, the title I'll be updating with the new title. This is the new title. I'll be updating with the new title, and whatever completed, so task dot completed, I'll be updated with the new completed. So if it's completed, so I'll be showing as completed true, completed false, so some this way. So message task updated successfully. Okay, so let's say we have a task create git. Okay, so we'll just create git and add it as done. Okay, so backend views task update is not there. Okay, we'll task up to date. Okay, task update, it's there. Okay, task delete is not there. We'll just create a task delete as well, no problem. We'll be just using the same thing, and instead of put we'll be using delete. Okay, so instead of task update it will be delete. Okay, now we don't need this part, we don't need this part either. Whatever PK we get, we'll just filter it out and dot delete. That's all. This is how you delete a task. So task deleted successfully. Okay, now we'll just complete this task, create a git. So what I'll do, git status, it's not a repository, so git init. Okay, it initialized an empty git repository, which means git create git task is done. So we'll update this task. So I'll use a put API. So I'll see what is the ID of create git. The ID is 2. So I'll put the ID 2 here, and body I'll use the body same create git. So if you don't want to send the title in the request, you can add the code here itself. So you can write if title in request dot data. If title in request dot data, then only pick title. Okay. So similarly, you can have if completed in request dot data, which means if you have that key, then only you update that. Okay. So this I'll take before. Okay. And if title is in request dot data, I'll update the title. If complete is in request dot data, I'll update the complete, and then I'll save it. Okay. So what does this mean? What did I do? PK always I'll get. Okay. What if I don't get the title in the request data? For example, here I in the, you can see here, I will not pass title. I'll just pass 2 and I'll complete true. I have not passed the title. So I'll just have a check that if title is in request.data, then only update the title. Else don't update the title. If completed is in request.data, then only do this part. Okay. Now save. I'll just do this. Completed true. So could not. Okay, the server was not running. So run server. Okay, server is running. Now I'll just we will see the status completed is false for pk2. I'll just send. So it says task updated successfully. Let's see. Yeah, the task has been updated successfully. Now once it is updated successfully, we don't need it, so we can delete it as well. So we'll use delete. Okay, so now for delete API we'll be using delete. So delete task delete to, and that's all. We'll just send. So task deleted successfully. So if I refresh here, this should be gone. Yeah, it's gone. So basically our CRUD operation for to-do list has been done. So all the list has been we can get. So we might need one more API which gives the task by ID. So I'll need one more API which will give task by ID or PK. Okay, so task by PK. Okay, this I might need one more. Why? Because I might need the particular by ID, particular task by ID. So I'll just take this get task by ID by PK. Okay, this would need a PK as well. Okay, I won't need a list. So here I'll get PK is equal to PK. Okay, this won't be a task. This result would be just one result. Okay, and I'll return this result. Okay, now this is get task by PK. So this I'll be adding here. So get task by PK, I'll just copy this part. Get task int PK. Okay, the PK is done. So this I'll be using here, get task by PK, and I should not be getting any errors. Okay, no errors. So let's say I want get task by ID 1. Okay, I got the task by ID, get task by PK1. Okay, now if I do PK2, see what it does. It is giving not exist error, very bad page. So we'll just add a check. We'll just say that if you get the PK, then it's fine, well and good. If you don't if you don't get the PK, we'll go into an except and it will return something saying that task not found. Okay, return saying, giving a message saying task not found. Okay, and whenever you have a task not found, which means something not found, you give a status code, status equal to 404, which means something has not been found. So if I do here, so see task not found 404. Okay, so this is how your CRUD operations are done. So you can see all the CRUD operations related to your to do task has been done, that too without a serializer. So this is how you do that using API view. This is entire Django REST framework. You can see all these APIs which we have created. Now these are your URLs. This is your main URL. So the backend part is completed. Now before moving to the front end part, I'll just pause the video. This would be the part 1 because it would be a long video then. So our backend part is done. Front end integration we'll be looking at in the next video. Thank you.